Most leadership advice focuses on what to do, but what about how you're wired to do it? Welcome to the Empowered Half Hour. I'm Becca Powers, a nervous system leadership expert and best-selling author. Here we talk about life and leadership, pressure and performance through the lens of the, more specifically your, nervous system, because how regulated you are shapes how well you lead. Each conversation is designed to find your blueprint to help you lead with more steadiness, clarity, and impact without burning yourself or your people out. It's my intention to help you come back home to yourself and to savor moments that you might be rushing through. And that starts right now. If you're able to, close your eyes, put your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your gut. Now take a deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 2. Now exhale powerfully through your mouth for a count of 6. There you are. Now put a smile on that face. It's officially tea time. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Half Hour, and I have a surprise for you guys today. I have a 30-year master coach, life strategist, and someone I admire as a coach and strategist too. And I've had the honor of meeting her through Empire Partners, and you guys have seen a few guests from Empire, but I'd like to introduce you to the magical Melissa Von Musser.
It's so nice to be here. So
It is.
excited to share time with you.
I know, I'm so excited too. So, listeners, I am tuning you in because this is going to be a brilliant episode on the masculine and feminine for high achieving women. So if that is you, tune in, lean in, because we're having a conversation I haven't got to have yet, and I'm super excited to have it. So Melissa, let me ask you the first question. I always kind of like to start in a little bit of background for the listeners, and I want to just anchor them into background for this topic. Like, how did you really start to distinguish and start to master your thought process around masculine, feminine for the high achieving women? Like, we had a great conversation before we started recording. So I'm just going to let you kind of share your backstory and where that passion comes from and the knowledge.
I'm happy to. I came out of a kind of bizarre lifestyle growing up. My parents were not parents, so I became the parent. And so I did not have a normal childhood. And at 16, I decided I was well, and I had it all figured out. I was on my own at 16, started working at 13, worked all through high school. And because so much of my life from that point all the way to, I'd say 20 years ago, my life was in survival mode. And so I'm a type A, high D, an overachiever. And part of my journey was in high level business early on. And as a woman, young woman who didn't know any of the masculine and feminine dialogue, I leaned into becoming the most intimidating woman in the room. And so if I could be the biggest badass in the room, then I felt safe. And so what happened as a result of that is I created a persona and an identity around being like man in business. And it scared men. It was really interesting. Every boss I've ever had has said, "You intimidate me." And I'm like, "Why?" Yeah, because I did.
Like, I don't understand.
I don't understand. And there are some character traits and behaviors of the high D woman in business
Yeah, I'm
where
a high D.
most of us have a tendency to go into masculine, logical driver behaviors. And for me, what happened as a result of that is over time, I was living in my head so much and everything was driven through the logic and the masculine. I got what they call a cortisol flood. And over time, I got multiple sclerosis as a result. And so,
I didn't know that. Wow.
yeah, I got multiple sclerosis about 35 years ago. And it rocked my world because they basically told me, go to bed, your life is over. You're going to be on medication. So I was on 18 medications at the point where I finally just said, I'm done with this. I'm not playing your Western medicine game. I'm out. Now that collided with me becoming a coach. And I became a coach because my son, Brooke, knew that I was suicidal as a result of this MS diagnosis. I had not been in the personal development space. So he bought a ticket for me to go to a coaching event, and that I didn't want to go. I was a train wreck. And he made my brother pick me up because he knew I might not make it. And that night that we got there, they announced the theme was How to Live Like You Were Dying based on Tim McGraw's song.
Wow.
And I didn't know that was gonna be the theme, neither did Brooke, but that moment in time brought me into coaching. A year later, I was coaching for that company, and that was the start of my evolution into the spiritual side of masculine and feminine in business. And through that, I learned that a lot of what I was holding in my body got me sick. And so if I could get myself sick through what I was not managing, what could change if I did? And that's where the masculine and feminine started to come into play, because I could witness grinding it out and being the biggest badass in the room, although sometimes effective. One, it wasn't sustainable over lengths of long periods of time without getting sick, losing marriages, having your kids act out. And so I had to find a better way. And that's what my personal journey has been about, is learning how for those of us that are high Ds, we don't want to give up that degree of control and that logical behavior because it's where we got to stay safe. If I can
Yes.
control that, I can control everything around me for the most part. But when I have to let that go to move into flow, I would panic, and it was a dance. It took me a while to figure out. But so far, I've kind of gotten my balance. It only took me 60 years, but I got my balance. And now I can dance in and out with both because I know what version of me is in play.
That's awesome. And there's so much in what you said. Like, I'm deciding which path I want to go, but I'm just going to go with what's coming up for me. You had mentioned something about being in your head. And so that made me think about being in your head versus in your heart. And we were sharing in the pre-show that, I've had a lot of changes in business and with my work, and that I had disconnected from my feminine, and I was in my head I was in that high D making business decisions and stuff.
Right.
And things, yeah, roar, and then things fell apart, and I felt I knew it the entire time, and I still overrode that part, and I think so many women do that, and they're like, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay,
Yep.
just." And that
It's
should be the warning. But I'm gonna give it to you. I want you to talk about that, because I'm sure head heart is something that, like, a lot of my listeners struggle with, you know?
It was the biggest shift for me, and it's one of the things I talk about most from stage or when I'm leading groups, is that we were raised on the premise of how to do life. Our parents raised us how to ride a bike, how to go to school, how to hold a fork, how to do things. School taught us how to do subjects. College taught us how to do things. Employers taught us how to do life. But the problem is that we lost, and this is important for the feminine. When we're in our head, you'll hear people say this, "You're dead." And the reason, especially for women, is that our superpower is from our heart. We're creators. I have a personal hallucination that women are the most powerful force in the universe because we create life. We are intrinsically wired for creation. But when I go into my masculine, I cut it off. I cut it off when I'm up here. And so when we do that, and a lot of times we're afraid to lean into our intuition in the business space because so many people make it wrong. Well, you
Yes.
can't justify that with a spreadsheet. And how are you going to prove that on paper? And that doesn't work to our bottom line. And that's just woo woo shit. Well, the
Mhm.
thing is that women who lean into their intuition in business are next level. They have a whole different awareness. It's kind of like 5D chess, but we're doing it in the energy field. And when we lean into that aspect of us, when we drop, I'm not saying abdicate intelligence or intellect or logic, but we have the ratio wrong. We had it flipped because we were raised that way. We raised our kids that way. It's how we've been taught. But we need to flip it from the 80-20, 80% in my head logic to 80% in my heart. So what I want to do is move out of this into the psychology, and the psychology's in our heart. It's 10,000 times stronger than our brain. It's what drives us. So for women in business to learn how to access that while maintaining the 20% logic, they're next level creators. They're next level leaders because they're leaning into what's true for them. And if we shut it off, we go hard in the grind, we overfunction, we overcompensate, we lose our essence.
Call
we
those
start
the overs.
becoming,
That's exactly like I spent the last 7 months over functioning, over rescuing, over
oh,
protecting.
completely.
Oh, you put the over in front of it, I was doing it. Guilty.
Oh, yeah, because more is better.
More
When
is
you're an achiever, if I go harder, faster, I win more. And I got the opportunity to coach for Tony Robbins for about 13 years, and it was a next level. I don't wanna say grind, it could be a grind, but it was next level from the standpoint of I got to coach high level people all over the planet. And what I learned was, and one of the things Tony talks about from stage, is that achievers are great at the science of achievement. We're great at figuring it out, lining it out, building things and go. But what's sad, and this is what I learned when I got MS, is we suck at the art of fulfillment. And a
ooh,
life without fulfillment is not a life.
you are speaking like words that I just need to stop on because that is prior to me going down my 7-month rabbit hole. I I mean, I've built my entire personal brand on the but it's really focused on successful people who have success but not fulfillment. They got fulfillment from that climb, but now they're a director or a successful
Right.
entrepreneur or a VP, and they're like, "This is it." And to your point, they never got shown how to be fulfilled. They never got shown how to tap into passion, how to just enjoy, go to a dance class. It doesn't like the concept of doing something without an award or so,
Right.
it's like,
Or
well, why would I
applause.
go? Why would I go? Yeah, or applause. Like, why would I go to be a competitive dancer? I can't, I'm 40 something years old because
Exactly.
you want to.
That's
Like,
right.
how about
It's
that?
nuts. It's sad because I think that for the business world, in fact, it's sad for them because they're losing the strength of all these incredible women. And if I stop enjoying my life, if I go into just staying into the science of achievement, again, I stay in a cortisol flood. My body gets sick. I lose the ability to find true solutions. So as a woman in business, when we don't go into our heart space, and it sounds woo woo, but it really isn't. It's physiological. When I get grounded and I go into who do I need to be today as a leader? Who does my team need me to show up as? That's a heart question. But when I go in with how am I going to get these guys to do what I want? How am I to get them to show up? How am I to make more money? How am I to do the things? I can feel it just saying it. My body starts to have this negative vibration. But when I ask, who do I need to be to figure it out? Who have I been when I've created incredible processes for my team? Who have I been when I've rocked building something with nothing? So I know there's a lot of shifts in your world right now. The question isn't how am I going to do it? The question needs to be who do I want to be to do it? Who do I need to become to do it? And who have I been in the past when I've done it really well? That opens the channel. I know it's like, isn't it cool? It opens the channel to we get access to the universe and God in a way that we don't when we're up here.
Yes, and, like, that is my biggest learning lesson, and sometimes we have to learn lessons more than once, unfortunately, ladies
Yes.
listening to this and gentlemen, but ladies especially because we push through and power through and we don't stop. Try to learn the lesson on time 1. Just saying it's gonna repeat itself, so if you can just get ahead of the curve and know. But to your point, like, I remember back in 2015 to 2016, I was in another, era of this where I powered through, I was disconnected, and it led me to an emotional collapse on the bathroom floor. I mean,
Been there.
God, universe saved me, right? Like, I had no strength to stand up. I didn't have strength to call out to my husband, kids for help. All I had was my inner dialogue, and I am like, "Dear God, like, I don't know how to do tomorrow any differently than I am doing it today, and I
You
need
can't.
help." And what I heard from my inner voice was, "Becca, you're the CEO of your life," which is why I wrote that book, because then I got, like, chills within me, like, it empowered me from the inside out, and I was like, "Oh my god, we are so much more," like, all of my spirit came back, and I felt like the phoenix rising,
Right.
but our bodies pay a cost, and this is where I wanted to kinda take the story is that even though I had this beautiful empowerment piece and my whole life changed and my life became so beautiful afterwards, and I could say so many things about it, and it's why I wrote books and got on stages just to be like, So much
This is what
more is possible. Oh my
Yes,
God.
exactly.
But the cost was autoimmune disease. The cost was bone riddling fatigue where I couldn't get out of bed. The cost was 2 or 3 years of high supplements, limited food, so much water that I felt like I was flooding myself. I mean, not that I don't love water, I still drink my water, but you know what I mean? Like it took a concentrated effort of magnitude to replenish the fuel that my body needed from absorbing the cost of pushing through and being in my masculine.
It's I believe that in society, back when the feminist movement took off, I understood their outcome because I do believe we should have equal pay for equal jobs. I do believe that women were suppressed to a point. But the problem is when that started to build a head of steam, it went so far to the wrong direction. We now have people raised with the belief that they have to do it all no matter what it costs. And I have so many young moms right now that are devastated to leave their kids with a nanny for a day because they have a belief that if I do that, I'm failing. I
Oh my
have
gosh.
business women that won't take time off because if I do that, I'm failing. But the problem is on that altar, it's not a failure, it's death. It is death to relationships. It is death to health. It is death to sanity. It's death to a quality of life. And so I had to learn it the hard way. I couldn't get out of bed. My body said, "You're done." And I was angry about it because I, at that
Oh, me
point,
too.
hadn't done the work. I was pissed. And that's where the suicidal ideation came in, is that if I can't live, I'm out. And there are hundreds of thousands of people right now in that dialogue that we're talking about. And the problem for women is that we have to do it all to be loved, seen, or appreciated, or to be a success. But at the end of my life, when I'm in the, they're talking at my funeral, are they going to say, "Oh my God, she was a great worker. She led a great team. She made so much money"? No, they're not. And so I don't want that to be my end game. My end game is to have a quality of life that I decide, because as women, we should decide. And something you said earlier when we were talking before is you stop listening to your intuition.
Yes.
That one thing in my life has burned me and cost me my sanity, my health, my relationships. Everything in my life gets derailed when I turn that off. My intuition doesn't live here. It lives here. So when I'm in my head, my intuition is doing the talking. I have to step out of this into this to hear the voice that is my guiding GPS. If I don't, I'm using somebody else's map for my life, and it costs me way more than it costs anybody else.
You were saying words and beliefs that I use myself. Like when I went to become a Kundalini yoga teacher, it was so that I could be my inner GPS. I'm like, I'd lost both my parents. I was 35, raising 4 kids in middle school, primary breadwinner in my house. And I'm like, and I no longer have an outer North Star. I'm like, I better get with the program now to learn how to trust myself. And it was the best damn decision I've ever made. And I'm so thankful for it. But even now, still now I'm 47, 10, 11 years later, I just went through a 7-month period where I was like, intuition.
You're good. I'll bring you back when I feel better. I got too much to do over here.
I'm like, how
I
did I
hear
do
you, but
that? How did
you're
I do
doing
it?
this, and I need you to do this. And so, you know how she gets your attention? With a brick. You
Yes.
either get sick, someone you love gets sick, businesses shut down, all kinds of shit happens when that goes down. That
Yes.
voice is the most important voice. That's where we should start every day, is inviting her into our space and go, "Okay, who do I need to be today? Who do you
Mm,
want me to be today? To be happy, to see the beauty in the day, even though I have all these things to do, even though I have these things I need to build. What ways do you want me to show up in that space?" If you just do that in the morning, it changes the trajectory of the day in your life. It's a simple ask, but we were taught, no, no, we don't need to hear that. Just grind. Just take action. More is better. Harder, faster, more is better. And right now we have all these women. One of the ways for the people in your audience to know, is this me? Or a couple things that show up. You have emotional numbness. You become numb to things like grief, loneliness, anger. overwhelm, those things start to take place and you're not even aware that's where you live. If that's you, you're living in your head and your heart is begging to be heard, begging.
Damn.
So it's an emotional shutdown we can control. We can turn that tap back. We can turn it back on very quickly.
I know you are a woman of many tools, but I always like to give the listeners like a little nuggie that they can take. So if they are listening to this and like, holy shit, I am in my head. Like what's a technique or a tool that you pull out when that starts to happen to be like, no, we're going back to intuition? Like what would you want to share with the audience as a tip or tool?
This is one of my favorite topics because this one conversation saved my life. This is how I got off of 18 different medications. When you get MS, they give you a medication for each little symptom. They don't care about how they interact. We'll just throw another one at it. It's a big pharma dialogue. So don't get me started on that one because that one really pisses me off. But I had to learn this, and what was so powerful is how simple it was. We start out with how am I going to get everything done today? How am I going to get the kids to school? Everything we loop on is usually a primarily how problem. When I'm in that, when I recognize I'm in my head and the symptoms look a lot like overwhelm, procrastination, self-sabotage, self-doubt, stress, anxiety. I have gotten clients off of anxiety with this one process, off all their anxiety meds. This thing is powerful. Those things are little white flags. When you see those, just know you're in your head. When I see the little flag and I know I'm getting anxiety about something and I need to get this done, I need to figure it out. I'm no time and I'm starting to feel the cortisol hit. I stop asking, how do I need to fix it? My first question isn't how anymore. My primary question is, who do I need to be to solve this? It's
Ooh,
a
I just got
who.
bumps.
Stop asking how and immediately go to who. And it kind of reminds me of the what would Jesus do bracelets?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can model other people's energy, we can model other people's decision-making processes. So when I'm in that state, I go, "Who do I need to be right now to figure this out?" If I'm in a fight with one of my kids or my husband, I keep at, how are you not getting it? How are you not hearing me?" That's not gonna get it done. But if I ask, "Who do I need to be for him to hear me right now? Who have I been in the past when he actually listened and heard what I said? Who does this person need me to be in this moment?" Because when I get hot, it's not a fun process for the person on the other side. But if I go into who do they need me to be, the answer pops up. They need you to be compassionate. They need you to be understanding. They need you to be softer. And the minute I ask who, I move out of the right side of my brain that's been locked off. When we hit a cortisol flood, when those flags pop, our body shuts down the right side of our brain because cortisol is the fight or flight hormone. It only has one job, to get us out of fight the lion or to flee. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is we live in sustained states. So many women right now don't even know what they feel because cortisol has robbed their ability for them to access the right side of their brain. The minute I ask who, the right side of my brain, which is the troubleshooting problem solving side, that's the logic. When I open that up, my brain can now find better solutions, better answers.
Nice.
But the minute I go back into how, I close the door on that. Now I get frustrated. I have anxiety. I freak out. I can't manage. I go harder and it compounds the problem. So don't ask how, ask who. Who do I need to be? Who do they need me to be? Who can I model after?
And, I think it's such a powerful lesson because probably even in business, there's women that's like, oh, I've read Who, Not How.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
don't use
know
it
about
that
that
way.
book, but that's just like all about business and who can do the job. But like, this is a much deeper soul question. Who do I need to become or who do I need to be? Because when you do ask yourself that, our inner self, our higher self always knows the answer.
That's
And
right.
so it's like what I'm hearing you say without saying it is we're giving the invitation for higher wisdom.
We're opening the channel.
Yes.
We're opening the door. That's the part of it that I love is that it's one thing I can control. And usually I start overreacting when I believe I can't control. But the minute I ask, who does this situation require right now? Who do I need to focus on? Who do I need to take care of? Who do I need to listen to? I'm giving opportunity for those questions to be answered in the right way. Without it, I'm assuming the answers. I'm taking action on assumption and I'm doing what people told me I should be doing. And the problem is the minute I move out of this into this, or when I'm up here, this tends to be where I go into my masculine. I go to logic, I go to reasoning, I go to spreadsheets, I go to action, I go to all these things and I loop there. That's why they say when you're head, you're dead. I keep looping the problem. But to get out, I see it kind of like a fire, in the fire stations, they have the poles. I
Yes,
see being in here, I go, when I ask who, I'm sliding down the pole into my heart.
I love
And the other
that.
part for women, because we live so much in that cortisol state, that driven state, the masculine, and we get numb. When I drop down into my heart, I open up what's most important, and that's where passion lives. If you're
Mm,
bored in your job, if you hate your life, if you are dragging ass every day, you're up here. But to get here opens up the channel to passion. And that's what women need. We are passionate beings. When we turn that channel off, we go masculine, we become less attractive, less welcoming, less behaviorally pulling the right things in. We become a repellent. And
mhm.
so I don't want to repel clients. I don't want to repel wealth and I don't want to repel a good life. So the majority of my life, I start and live here. And it doesn't mean I'm crying all day and I'm not always watching Hallmark and I'm not skipping through the forest. It means that I'm accessing the depth of who I am, which is what most people want. So,
Yes.
what would happen if we all lived that way? What would change? Who would be
Could you
heard?
imagine? Yeah, it was like, could you imagine how much the world would change?
I know.
I instantly saw, I'm intuitive and I focus in, like, color too, but I saw, like, the world going from, like, black and white to vibrant color, like,
Yes.
as you said that.
And it has that, I don't know if you've ever done plant medicine, but it has that glow about it. It's like it breathes. You can see it and
Yeah.
feel it. That's the beautiful place to create from. That's the beautiful place to start your day. That's the beautiful way in which you can move through crises and trauma. And I do a lot of trauma work and I've had a lot of trauma in my own life. This one thing kept me sane in some of the biggest, deepest, darkest trauma I've ever had.
Yeah.
Before that, I lost my mind. And so I want tools that I can access easily that get me back to my intuitive knowing. Every time I've ignored her, I've made bad decisions and I've been burned incredibly badly. And it makes me mad because if I had been listening, I would have caught it.
Yes.
So it's just this really interesting piece that moves us into, we still need the science of achievement because we still have to pay our bills. I'm not Pollyanna, but life has to be more beautiful than that. And the way I do that, keep that balance, I see it as an 80-20. It's not a 50-50 spread. I see it as 80-20. 20% is my logical get shit done. 80% is the psychology of who I need to be and who I want to be on the other side of it.
I love what you're saying so much, and I have seen it in my clients, and I know that you've seen it in your clients, but I'm gonna just speak in the I. When I lived in that place of passion, like, I have this belief, and it's just from seeing it, like, when you coach people for over a decade, you see the
Yes,
themes, right? But
you do.
I have this little saying that I said, "Passion unlocks, purpose, and passion and purpose together unlock prosperity." You think you are working so hard to make money. You are working so hard. And if you only knew that
That's
if
right.
you unlocked your passion, it would like your purpose would expand because your purpose is through being, it's not through doing. And that is the biggest like mind fuck of like, I'm like, I thought my purpose
Truly.
was what I did. No, it's who I am. And it comes through in what I do. And then my prosperity, like I had the best, most prosperous years of my life in expected and in unexpected ways. Expected and unexpected is what I'm trying to say. And I just think that's like such like it's like a secret that people need to know.
Exactly. And it's not hard, but nobody's talking about it. So when I talk about this from stage or with my clients, we should be teaching this to our children.
My
We need
gosh,
to
yeah.
teach little girls what it is to be okay to be a little girl, but to listen to what's important. If we started teaching them that when they're younger, no one's going to bully them and no one's going to take advantage of them and no one's going to wreak havoc with them. But we don't. And so for me, it's an intrinsic breakdown in society that we have been doing a disservice to our kids.
I
I
believe
take this stuff really seriously because my life would have been very different had I learned that every aspect of me is beautiful and every part of my feminine is powerful. My mom was my mom was Miss Norway. She was one of the most beautiful women in the world. And I always thought that her being a woman was weak because I didn't see her making big decisions and I didn't see her living large. My dad was a powerhouse, so I followed his lead. But it really breaks my heart that my mom never taught me her feminine nature. She never taught me what that was. So I had to figure it out, and it took a lot of heartbreak and a lot of rough things along the way. But now I can share it with other people, and if you're out there in those painful places where you don't know what to shift, start here. Step back and ask the question you've been avoiding of who am I? Who have I been when I was happy? Who have I been when I rocked my business life and I didn't wanna go home and shoot myself? Because we
Right.
have a lot of those things happening right now.
We do.
Who part gets you back to your truth, brings you back into fulfillment. Yes, you still have to work, but you get to do it from a different version of you, and the feminine kicks ass.
Oh,
She's powerful.
I'm so grateful to have had this conversation, and we are
Ah.
kinda at the 30-minute mark, so I wanna ask you one more question before you can share with the listeners, how to stay in contact with you, because 'cause I'm sure they'd love to. Um, how would this concept, because it is the Empowered Half Hour, empower someone's life if they embraced it?
Oh, beyond. It empowers you because you take back your control, but more than that, you bring back into balance so that when things are unbalanced, nothing goes well. Like when you have one leg that's jacked, you walk weird. When you're carrying something and it's not balanced, it's not a flow. But this one thing creates beauty even in the dark parts of our life. It gives us hope, it keeps us moving, and it makes life beautiful. We get to stack life the way we want it. If we stacked it well, life becomes beautiful and it becomes more enjoyable. And I think we live longer and we have a higher quality of life. And more than that, we inspire others to do the same. So to me, it's part of the collective. It's my responsibility to live a beautiful life. So this is kind of how I started doing that.
Beautiful. Well,
Oh,
share with
thank
the
you.
listeners how to stay in contact with you.
Right now, the best way is you can reach me at my on email or on Instagram at Melissa Von Musser, or you can get me through email at Melissa at the Stacking Effect, EFFECT.com. And I would love to help any of the people in your world that need any kind of support. It would be an honor.
Oh my gosh, I encourage you to reach out to Melissa if you feel the pull. She's amazing. Thank you for joining the podcast. You were an amazing guest.
Thanks, guys.
If you like today's episode, there are several ways to support the show. As an independent creator, your engagement helps me continue to create it for you. And together, we help create a more regulated and radiant world. First, please rate and review the show on the platform where you listen, and consider sharing this episode with a friend, or maybe 5. That's how it grows, by sharing these ideas. Second, please sign up for my email where I send a short personal note to you every week. You can sign up at beccapowers.com/regulated. As always, thanks for listening, and remember, regulated people get radiant lives. And it's time for you to shine bright. Well, that's a wrap for today. I'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, stay regulated, radiant, and revived.